Oh, oh, it's magic.
You know.
Better believe. That's a really good song.
I know. That's why I picked it as my favorite 80s song that was made in 1975.
That's not my favorite 80s song, but it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really my favorite either, but I just can't think of things when people put me on the spot.
Okay, well, hi everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to a new episode of Confidently Controversial, your favorite podcast to hear about movies and more, with your hosts, Emily Paul and Kimberly Tweed.
That's me.
Yes, it is.
KT.
KT in the his house. How are you doing?
I am doing okay.
We're looking at each other, which is weird. We don't. Okay, guys, let's bring you in. Let's bring you into our world. Step inside. So we're doing things are a little different right now.
It's nighttime.
It's nighttime. You know we don't podcast at night.
We're usually fully asleep by now.
We are. We're not in our regular pod loft.
Nope.
We're at my house, which we all know is worse.
I'm not going to say anything.
Anything can happen here. There's animals.
Yeah, the cats were just making some caterwauling sounds, and Emma was just like, "It's normal. It's what they do." I was like, "I don't think so. I think one is being murdered."
No, you'll probably hear them because at night they make that noise.
Why?
Because I think we have two cats, and you can hear it kind of. And if one doesn't know where the other one is at night, she just goes around calling for her. So right now, that cat is calling for the other one. But now I see the other one walking towards her because, that's just what happens. You're not a cat person, are you?
Not, no.
JD Vance would like you. Sorry, we don't get political.
I'm a childless woman. Anyway.
That's true. Maybe he wouldn't like you. So we, the reason why we're doing our podcast at night this time and at my house is because we were just lucky to be on a show. We were interviewed by Chris Pomay for his show, Sports Talk with Chris Pomay.
It's called Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk.
Yep.
And it is a radio show, and we got to meet Mr. Pomay and be on his show, and he asked us a lot of questions. And guys, I think we're famous now.
As I think it happens.
I do.
Do you feel it?
Yeah, I do.
Do you feel different?
I feel different. We went out for a little bit, and I felt like people were looking at me.
I know. It could have been that we were both wearing T-shirts for our show.
And I had Crocs on. I'm embarrassed to say.
Yeah, so it was great. It was so nice to be on his show. We talked a lot about movies. We talked a lot about a lot of the different ones that we've...
Emily, what's your favorite 80s food?
McDonald's. I mean, I don't know.
There were a lot of good questions.
There were a lot of good questions. I don't know that there's food from the 80s.
There is, because
bologna. They don't. Do they make bologna?
Bologna.
They still make bologna.
It's a lot of 80s food.
They don't make bologna.
Sure, they do.
Do you remember going to a deli and getting some nice thin sliced bologna?
No.
Oh,
who are you? How old were you in the 80s?
I was low.
You're like, ma'am, can I get a half pound of bologna thinly sliced?
I like it real thin. The thinnest cut, so thin you can see right through it.
Too thick.
Just throw it back in her face. It was too thick. What is this? I'm like an 8-year-old. This is bullshit.
Okay, so your favorite 80s food is bologna.
I think it is. Mm-hmm. Oh, no. The little cheese things that you could have with lunch that had a cracker on one side.
With the little red.
Yeah. And an ecto cooler. That's my favorite 80s food.
Okay.
How about you?
I told you. Ilio's Pizza.
Oh, right. It was great. It was fun to be on the show. I realized when we were on that show, we know a lot of things.
We've talked about a lot of movies in our lives, and we have retained quite a bit of the facts.
I know. It's it makes me feel...
It's also possible we've retained things that aren't true because no one ever fact checks us.
Are we just spreading lies?
This is it. All over the internet and now on the radio.
That's what we do. We're part of the problem. Mm-hmm. We're part of the problem.
That's true.
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. Chris was great, and the show was really fun, and we really appreciate it. The other great thing was that Chris has opted that he is going to take the Cocoon DVD.
Yes, we're going to send him the Cocoon DVD, so that's exciting.
That's really exciting because I've still, ever since we recorded that episode, that's like a month ago, a month back, I've just been walking around with this Cocoon DVD. No one will take it.
No.
But Chris will take it.
But I also need to talk about what happened earlier today, podcast related. We received an email.
Oh, we did.
And
okay, here's the thing, guys. I really enjoy, we both enjoy hearing from people.
No, we do.
We do.
Love it.
And I think as our podcast is getting out there more and more of you are doing the right thing and you're subscribing to our show, and that's the right thing to do.
We appreciate you.
You're listening
All
to
of you.
episodes. We appreciate all of you. We got an email from someone who was pointing out that we apparently say a certain word a lot.
Yep.
And I should just say what it is, because otherwise everyone's going to just try and guess it. And I'm sure there's a lot of words we say a lot.
Yeah, well, we identified the word that we truly say a lot, which is
We say
We're ummers.
We're ummers.
We're sponsored by
We're sponsored by Big owns this program. We have to say we have a quota of how many times we have to say every episode. It's out of our hands. It's out of our hands.
We don't say enough.
I know. So I'm sorry if you guys don't like that, but you have to understand that our hands are tied.
That's right. What can we do?
What can we do? Nothing. Nothing we could possibly do.
However, this gentleman told us that we say like a lot. And as children of the 80s, we'll say, that is our right.
That is our right. We're allowed. We come by it naturally.
Yeah.
We're allowed to say like a lot.
And we're not trying to say don't write us, but maybe just...
It's okay. I feel...
Fine. Okay, you're better about it than me. Yeah.
You're mad. I'm not mad. So this is connected to some trauma from my youth. I was not... I remember saying like a lot. And I had one teacher who we had to stand up and give oral presentations as a part of it. And what she would do is sit there and she would write on a little piece of paper, and she would write, she would make Roman numerals for how many times you said like or
Okay.
And, I was in middle school. So, maybe 11 or 12. And I was a little nervous.
Sure.
And I said like and a lot because
they're crutches.
They're filler words.
Yes.
This woman would tell us at the end how many we had.
Sure.
It was her, I don't know, she had some sort of kink or something about it.
Did you win?
I won.
Oh.
And I was really upset about it. And she took so much glee in saying the high number that I had. And I remember kind of laughing it off, and everybody was kind of amazed and like, oh my God, like laughing a little bit. So I have some deep trauma around saying that word a lot.
Well, it was also, he only had listened to our first episode.
We probably said it a lot on that first episode because we really didn't know what we were doing.
We had no idea what we were doing.
You guys don't understand. We just one day were thinking we are going to do a podcast.
We should totally do a podcast.
Oh my God. Let's do a podcast. And then
we totally did.
We totally did. And
Here we
did
are.
you do a podcast?
Right. And then maybe we got better. Or maybe we didn't. I don't know.
I don't know.
But still, maybe you listen to the first one and then you go 10 episodes and you try again.
We continue to get better.
Yeah.
Every
anyway,
day.
I don't want to bring it down. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir. You're entitled to your opinion about me and my words.
Well, I think highly of you and your words.
Thanks.
Also, I do want to share with you guys before we stop talking about Chris's show. So we're sitting there. It's his show was a live podcast, and then I think you can also watch it. We'll share it on our channels when we can find the video. I'll put it up on our YouTube as well if Chris says it's okay, and we'll share it wherever we can so you guys can watch it because it was fun.
Yeah,
it really was
really
fun,
fun.
and I hope you guys listen to it. But right before we're about to go on, it was what was it, SteamYard that we were in that he was using. Mm-hmm. So you're just kind of waiting for him to let us into the room, and then we would be live on the show. And right before we went live, Kim and I are sitting right next to each other. Our heads are about a foot apart, and I just look at her and go, "You look beautiful."
It's very awkward.
Kim was mad at it. How could you be mad at me about that?
I'm mad. I just get on my head. People can't give me compliments.
Well, it was very nice. It was very nice. And so thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Yes,
we appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
Now, we did tease this movie in his show.
A little bit.
So do you want to go ahead and jump right in and start talking about it?
Is your pick. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do this thing. So on Chris's show, the clues that were given. So this is what Kim knows so far. So we're bringing you in to the clues that have already been shared earlier this evening. Chris mentioned 2 actors.
Yes.
From the movie Strange Brew.
Yes.
Rick Moranis.
And that other guy.
And Dave Thomas.
Okay.
One of those
Not
2.
Wendy's Dave Thomas.
No.
Don't be confused.
The actor from SCTV.
Yeah.
So one of those 2 actors is in this movie.
Okay.
The other clue that I gave is that this movie actually underperformed. It was up against Fright Night.
Underperformed?
It underperformed from what they thought it was going to be. It was up against Fright Night.
Yeah.
Weird Science.
Okay.
Back to the Future.
Right.
And Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Wow. What an opener.
I know. It came out in 1985. In the box office, it grossed $13.9 million, which seems okay. That's a lot of millions.
Yeah.
But given this movie and what it is, it was a bit of a disappointment for people.
Okay.
They really thought it was going to do a lot more than what it actually ended up doing. This movie was directed by someone named Ken Kwapis.
Oh, Kwapis.
Kwapis. Other movies that Ken has directed, he did Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Sure.
He also did the movie Vibes, which is on my list. That movie has Cyndi Lauper and Jeff Goldblum in it.
I've never heard of it.
Oh, you're going to watch it one of these days. It's coming. It's going to be in your life.
Jeff Goldblum?
Jeff Goldblum. And he also directed Dunstan Checks In, which, I don't know. That's a couple strikes.
A monkey, right?
Yeah.
Ugh.
I know. It's an orangutan.
Orangutan.
They're all long with their weird...
Orangutan.
Orangutan with its weird, like, its sparse hair.
What? Emily's pointing to her armpit right now, just so you know. Like, not its head or any other part, but its armpit.
Because, like, an orangutan has, like, sparse, long hair hanging off its arms.
I do not.
We're going to share a picture with this podcast, and it's going to be an orangutan with some sparse orange hair. So
they're orange?
Yeah. Orangutans.
That's not it. Orangutans. All right.
Okay. So this movie has a lot of cameos in it. Okay.
All right.
So some of the other cameos in this movie.
You didn't tell me who the stars are.
I can't tell you who the stars are. You're going to know exactly what this movie is. So I'm just going to tell you the cameos. Sandra Bernhard. You remember her?
I do.
Jonathan Candy.
Okay. Sure.
Chevy Chase. Chevron Chase.
Yeah, sure.
Joe Flaherty. He was also SCTV.
Okay.
Waylon Jennings.
Uh-huh.
And Dave Thomas. So it was Dave Thomas.
That was the guest star.
A cameo.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Do you have any guesses?
Chevy Chase.
Chevron Chase was in this.
And it's just he just has a cameo?
Just has a cameo
Can
in
you
it.
tell me more? Like, give me a genre, something?
I can't, because it's really something unto its own thing. It's a children's movie.
I've seen this movie.
You've definitely seen this movie. We've talked about this movie quite a bit. And we've talked about how this movie was fairly traumatic for us to watch.
Bird?
Yes.
No. Really?
Yeah, we gotta watch it.
Oh, stop.
Are you gonna cry this time?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna make myself not cry, but I really don't want to watch it.
I know.
Especially at night.
Okay. So let me tell you a little bit more about it. You're upset because it's okay, guys. Before we had a podcast, and we would just talk about movies that maybe kind of were wrong for us to watch. We're not children's movies, but were shown to children to watch. This wasn't one of those movies that I feel like comes up quite a bit.
Oh my
Do you want
God.
to share why this movie is traumatic?
Well, it's traumatic because of Mrs. Finch.
Yes.
And then it's also traumatic because poor Big Bird has to be in a cage for like a really long time in this movie, and he misses his friends.
Yeah, it's, they could have done a lot with this movie.
Yeah, is this the only Sesame Street movie?
This is it's the first theatrical feature-length Sesame Street film. I don't know if there's been other ones. Maybe there's been like an... there's the Christmas one, Christmas Eve on Sesame Street.
Okay.
But that was before, but I don't think that was on TV. That was not in the theaters. So this movie, like I said, it underperformed. It actually financially hurt the Children's Television Workshop.
No.
They thought it was going to be much, much bigger than what it ended up being. And one of the reasons why, in my reading, it didn't do as well was because I will tell you, Gene Siskel hated this movie.
Really?
Hated it.
Loves Roger Rabbit, hates this.
No, Roger Ebert likes this. Roger Ebert did not review Follow That Bird. Gene Siskel is his partner.
Oh, he's the one that
Siskel and Ebert.
He hated it?
He hated it.
Oh, okay. I'm not listening. I'm sorry.
You really aren't. You're
I'm
just
really focused on Mrs. Finch.
I want to read you a little bit about what he said about it. He gave it 2 stars. His mini review of Follow That Bird was not too closely.
Oh.
Burn. Sick burn, Gene Siskel. He called it an unfunny little trifle.
Was it meant to be funny?
I don't know. I guess people expect joy when you have...
Yeah, I don't expect comedy, though.
No, but you do expect joy, and this movie does not have as much joy as you would hope.
All of the Sesame Street folks in this?
All of the Sesame Street folks are in this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's... let me read you what he wrote. He said...
Is that why you couldn't tell me who starred in it? Because it's Big Bird?
Yes! But that's Gene Siskel's problem with it, because his thing is that Big Bird is not as much of a star as Kermit the Frog or even Miss Piggy, who can carry a film. Like, he can't. He wrote, he's not as big of a star as Kermit and Miss Piggy. He's big and yellow and kind, but that's it. And it's not enough for a star.
Oh, shit. Why you gotta diss Big Bird?
I know. Which, I gotta say, I never loved Big Bird. Bill Bird.
Bill Bird. Big Bill Bird.
Big Bill Bird. I never really liked. I mean, he was all right. He was just there, but he wasn't like my favorite. I like Cookie Monster.
Did you know that one of my birthday parties, Big Bird came? I'll just show you a picture of it.
Is it like a really
worst?
Is it a bad outfit?
Yeah, it's the worst costume I've ever seen. It's like whoever was in the costume, I don't even know. I have to ask my parents about this. My mom. And so the bird's head, like the neck started probably was like the neck was over the face, and then the head was like up here.
Like a hat.
So the neck was really long. Okay. And it just was, I just remember it being really, really bad. And then I also remember we have a picture of it, and like someone's thumb is over the picture. In one of the pictures. So you know how it would turn red? So it's like a really bad picture of Scary Big Bird with someone's thumb over it.
I feel like it would probably be very artistic. Like if you framed that, you could put it in a gallery and say it was art.
You could. Yeah,
That's
I'll
awesome.
find it.
I want to see it.
I'll show you tomorrow.
What birthday was it? How old were you?
I was probably 6, maybe.
Funny. I had a Cookie Monster birthday. Maybe a little younger than that, 4, 3 or 4.
Yeah, I don't even know
like that.
how old. I was probably I would say 6 because because of where we lived. It makes sense that I was 6 years old.
Yeah, I like Bert and Ernie.
I wonder who that Big Bird was. Where did my parents get that thing?
I don't know. But yeah, it's this movie. It's not a great movie, but it does feature all of the stars that you love and know from Sesame Street. Such as Gordon.
Okay.
Olivia.
Sure.
Bob.
Oh, Bob.
Bob's in this. Maria.
Yeah.
Susan.
Sure.
Louise.
What?
And Linda, even though she's hearing impaired.
Linda?
Linda. Yeah. Aww. But you know who's not there and who I want to talk about?
Who? Bert and Ernie.
No. David. Do you remember David?
No.
David was played by an actor whose name was Northern Calloway. And I'm going to show you his picture and you're going to know who he is. Mm-hmm. You remember him?
Yeah.
Okay. His name is Northern Calloway. The reason why Northern Calloway was not in this movie was because he had been arrested, and this movie was shot in Canada, and they didn't think he was good, he couldn't cross the border and go to this thing. But I want to tell you why he was. It's actually, you do. It's actually a pretty tragic story, and it's one of the stories that I almost wish that someone who had if it was a different podcast, maybe like My Favorite Murder or something like that, could really do more of a deep dive into this person.
Did he murder someone?
Well, listen to this. So I'm just going to read exactly what it says in Wikipedia, which is not something that we do quite a bit here, but I also feel as if the way that this is written and what he did, I need to read it to you. Okay. So on the morning of September 19th, 1980, Calloway was arrested in Nashville, Tennessee. So this is 1980. This is Sesame Street is happening. He had been a guest in the home of Mary Stagaman, a marketing director of the Tennessee Performing Arts Center, after performing there on the 13th. After being asked to leave the house and refusing to do so, Calloway beat Stagaman with an iron, causing serious head and rib injuries. He then fled into the suburbs of Nashville, where he smashed a plate glass window and storm door at one house and did extensive damage to the interior of another, destroying the family's collection of fine crystal, smashing a television set, and breaking light bulbs with his bare hands. He also stole a backpack from a first grader, smashed a windshield with a rock, and stole a bag of herbicide from elderly resident Douglas Wright.
What's herbicide?
Like, I guess fertilizer? Okay. Yeah. Calloway spilled the herbicide on his body and was rolling on the ground and running around, at which point Wright attempted to hold Calloway at gunpoint and fired a warning shot at him, causing Calloway to dive to the ground and scream that he was shot. He then jumped up, washed his hands and face in Wright's bird bath before fleeing the scene, where witness reported him wearing only a Superman t-shirt. He was arrested after hiding out in a couple's garage screaming, "Help, I'm David from Sesame Street and they're trying to kill me." Sad. Scary.
Drugs.
Mental health.
Oh.
Yes. He was taken to a mental hospital for examination, and I think eventually they diagnosed him as either bipolar or like more serious than that, but really bad. But it wasn't publicized. I mean, this is the 80s. This is like a star of a children's show who this happened to, and it wasn't really publicized. And he was allowed to continue appearing on the show as long as he sought help.
No way.
Yeah. So he continued to be on the show.
Really?
Yes.
Jeez.
And it's funny because I want to find out what year Christmas Eve on Sesame Street came out, because there's a part in Christmas Eve on Sesame Street, and I'm going to say this, and only my brother and my sister are going to know. They're going to know exactly what I'm talking about, where they're on a subway together, and he's kind of like singing into Maria's eyes, and I feel like Maria's not happy about it.
Interesting.
I always got a vibe about that, and I didn't even know this.
Okay.
But yeah, he ended up dying very young. Calloway's final years on Sesame Street were marked by periods of deteriorating health and ability, punctuated by kind of these episodes of erratic behavior. And he reportedly bit music coordinator Danny Epstein during an on-set fight. It's also said that Calloway once appeared unannounced at Gina from Sesame Street's high school and proposed to her despite being 23 years older than her.
Oh my gosh.
The other cast members observed subtle clues to his erratic behavior and increasingly kind of kept their distance. And he also had his criminal record is what caused him to be banned from Canada, where Follow That Bird was filmed.
Wow.
That's why he wasn't in it at all. So by 1987... one of the producers became really doubtful about his future on the show. And so the writers gradually ended the relationship that I guess David supposedly had a relationship with Maria, which I don't really remember. It was like apparently it was a storyline for several years. So then Maria started a romance with Luis.
Jeez.
Yeah,
There's
Maria.
on Sesame Street.
It was like, I don't know. They never really talk about it. I guess as kids watching, you just assume it's a mom and a dad.
Right.
And you don't really ask any questions about it. You're not into like, well, what's going on?
I think Maria likes them.
I think Maria likes them. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
But yeah, and in the spring of 1989, Calloway was dismissed from Sesame Street following the incident when he bit the guy, the music coordinator. So his final appearance was on the 20th season finale, which aired May 12th, 1989. So that is 9 years after that original incident happened. And then in the following season, I guess the way they said was that he went to live with his grandmother on a farm to take care of her.
Like my dog.
Yeah, I know. That's probably the same dog. But yeah, so shortly after he was terminated, he was permanently placed into a mental institution.
Wow.
In New York. So he had treatment for bipolar disorder. And in 1990, there was a violent altercation between Calloway and a staff physician. And he was taken to a different hospital where he was pronounced dead at the age of 41.
Oh, God.
And the coroner's report listed his official cause of death as exhaustive psychosis.
Oh.
So it's now more commonly called excited delirium syndrome, or EDS. And it's kind of a controversial condition because it's often retrospectively assigned to people who die under restraint in custody.
Oh, my goodness.
I know. Isn't that sad?
Yes, very sad.
Let's watch Follow That Bird.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, very
and
interesting.
the movie itself, I share your concerns about this movie.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
It's like a big bird cage, and he's like in the bird cage, and he's on the swing, and he's singing, but he's all by himself.
He's blue. They paint him blue. He's the bluebird of sadness.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Like, and one of the things I read, I think in the Gene Siskel review, he kind of said, well, if you had done a movie that talked about Big Bird's origin story, like how he ended up on
a big bird,
but like how did he end up on Sesame Street? Like what was the journey that got him there? And then it would end in love, and he found his family on Sesame Street, and you could write a story arc with that. And I'm like, yeah, that would have been better instead of a story which is essentially about you're an orphan, you need to be with your own kind,
right? Which
is what the story's about. Essentially, Miss Finch comes and is like, he can't live here on Sesame Street. He needs to be around other birds. So she takes him away from Sesame Street and makes him live with a bird family that's the dodos.
Right.
And they're really dumb and scary. That's what I remember about it, that the dodos are very dumb. And that was scary because they're just like, oh, what? I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be bad.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for bringing it to the podcast.
We had to. We have to do these things. It's our job.
I know. But do we have to do it at night?
I don't know why you're so mad about watching it at night.
Because I have to go walk to my car, and there's going to be a big dodo out there.
Okay, well, let's go watch it, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more about it.
Oh, boy.
Controversial. Confidently controversial.
Okay.
And there ain't no road too long. Clackety clack, don't talk back.
That was not in the song.
We did it.
We did.
What'd you think?
Oh, it felt long.
It's not long.
No.
It's like
you
85.
touted its shortness earlier. You're like, the movie we're watching is pretty short.
It is. It's only like 85
this was
minutes.
long.
It felt long.
Yeah. This road was too long.
Well, let's talk about it a little. Let's talk about it a little
Talking
bit.
about it.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
So
Big Bird.
Big Bird. I don't know. The whole movie, I know we talked about it a little bit before. So the premise of the movie is that in the beginning of the movie, there is a board of directors meeting.
A bird of directors meeting.
A bird of directors meeting with all these birds.
A bird board.
A bird board.
Mm-hmm.
And their foundation that they run.
Sure.
The goal of it is to place lost birds with families.
Yes.
And they're all about, it's kind of creepy. They're like, they have to be with their own kind.
Yeah, I know. Like in a weird way, like your weird uncle.
Yeah. Yeah. Like there's a little nationalism or something happening.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They should be with their own kind.
That's right.
So they believe that Big Bird cannot possibly be happy because he's not with other birds. So Miss Finch, who is
and I don't know
so
how
scary.
They found out about him. How?
I guess they track every bird.
Every bird.
Every bird.
That's a lot of birds.
Without a home.
And he's 6 years old.
He's 6 years old.
Which doesn't make any sense to me.
I think the idea that he's very tall.
No,
and he's kind of dumb. And he has like the mind of a 6-year-old, but he's the size of a large adult.
I understand that part of things, but at the same time, like this movie came out in 1985.
Correct.
What year does Sesame Street come out?
I don't think they do it like that.
Okay. So a year.
So he's the mind of a 6-year-old, and that's the age they're
That's
going
not
with.
what they said.
That's not what they said, but he doesn't age. If he aged, he'd be a grumpy old man bird at this point.
Okay, anyway.
You're mad about it.
I'm not.
I mean, I see your point, and it doesn't make sense. But he's like a cartoon character. He's just eternally that age. Okay? We accept this?
I accept. Move on.
So Miss Finch goes to get Big Bird from Sesame Street.
Big Bird.
Big Bird from Sesame Street and place him with a family of dodos, which are extinct.
Yeah.
And I feel like the only reason they did that was so that they could have the joke of Big Dodo. Because they call him, it gets placed with the family, they start calling him Big Dodo.
And their names are Mommy, Daddy,
Donnie and Marie.
Which is weird.
I know. And I don't like how the little girl always says, and I'm Marie.
I don't like how they're like, Mommy, Daddy. I don't know. The Mommy and Daddy talk to each other, Mommy and Daddy.
And they're creepy.
Yeah, they're weird. And they're super dumb, but they're not that much dumber than Big Bird. And Big Bird. Big Bird gets real mad about their dumbness. Like, that seems to be the main reason he wants to leave them.
But also, he doesn't fit in. And at night, when he's going to bed, the mommy and daddy aren't overly effusively nice to him. They're just like, okay, here's your bed. And he thinks they're going to give him a hug and a kiss. And they just kind of pat his big neck.
And then they also do a lot of aerobics.
They do some aerobics.
But then they swim in the pool.
It's just stupid. It just made me mad. That whole part, I thought it was going to upset me. It made me mad watching it. I didn't enjoy it.
I didn't feel as sad now as I did when I was younger, which good for antidepressants and all that. But
I was a little mad just thinking that who wrote this movie?
Yeah.
Who thought this movie was a good idea?
Right. Yeah, so then Big Bird, he runs away.
He runs away from the dodos because anyone would.
Right. And he's going to walk back to Sesame Street.
And they're in Indiana? So he's going to walk from Indiana
to New York.
To New York.
And he thinks it's only going to take 3 hours because it only took him 2 hours to fly there.
But he's not that smart. We said before. He's not that bright.
He's also 6.
Yes, he is. He's 6.
Okay.
So the people back at it gets on the news that
for some reason this bird running away gets on the national news.
Yes. And
as read by Chevy Chase.
As read by Chevy Chase in a wonderful way. And so the people of Sesame Street, they hear that and they're like, all right, we got to go get him because we love him. He's
Follow that bird.
Follow that bird. Let's go get him. So they hit the road. So I guess it's like a road movie because it's everybody's trying to get somewhere.
It's like Midnight Madness, remember?
It is like Midnight Madness, but not as good as Midnight Madness at all. So they're all trying to get him, who's going to get to him first. And in the middle of all of this, you have the Sleaze brothers, as played by Joe Flaherty and Dave Thomas.
And they're pretty great.
You enjoyed them?
I did.
What did you like about them?
The sleaze.
You just like the word sleaze or just how they're kind of like...
Well, I like the word sleaze.
Sure. Who doesn't?
Right. But also, I mean, I like that. I like their brand of badness.
Yeah, like they're dumb and bad.
Right.
And, yeah.
Just like goofy, and they have a unfair.
Yes, an unfair.
They have an unfair.
Yeah. But they want to they see Big Bird on the news and they think to themselves, well, we could be famous if we get this. This is going to help our fun fair. It's going to be a great attraction for the fun fair if we have this giant bird. Yeah. So now you have the Sleaze brothers looking for Big Bird. You have Miss Finch looking for Big Bird. And then you have all the people from Sesame Street. Are the Dodos looking for Big Bird?
They don't care.
They don't care.
No.
They really don't.
But on Sesame Street, they have a whole army. They've got the yellow Volkswagen. They've got Super Grover. They've got Bert and Ernie in a plane. They've got somebody else.
The Count.
Oh, yeah, the Count.
They've got the Count. They're all... we had a lot of questions about the adult humans in this movie and who's supposed to be dating who, because there seems to be a lot of snuggling up with people who maybe weren't your significant other.
Yeah, somebody sings and then all of a sudden you're allowed to lay on someone else's husband, and that doesn't seem right.
Well, we don't know what was happening on Sesame Street.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Maybe that's why everyone wanted to go there.
Maybe some of those people took the opportunity to leave Sesame Street to get a little freaky while they were out looking for Big Bird.
Maybe.
I'll
ride with Gordon.
Oh, gross. I think Susan was just like,
interesting.
I see you, Linda. You think just because you're deaf that I can't see what you're doing?
I'll still cut you.
Get away from my man. So, yes. So everyone's looking for him. He has some adventures. He sings some songs. That song that he sings with Waylon Jennings is a banger.
Straight up.
Like, I love that song.
Oh, my God.
It was
so
positive.
positive. Yeah, it was.
Ain't no road too long, Kim.
No.
Just hang tight and just make up your mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of a ripoff of Ain't No Mountain High Enough, but, you know.
But it's good. It's Waylon Jennings.
Yeah,
and I feel good about it, and I want to sing it, so I'm going to put it on a mix.
You're going to burn it?
I'm going to burn it on a CD, and I'm going to listen to it in my car, and I'm going to be like, when you hang on tight and just make up your mind.
Your mom's right. You do sing a lot.
And once you set your heart's moving on, oh, there ain't no road too long. Yakety yak. Don't.
Why do you keep putting that in there?
It should be in there. I forgot to mention before that this was actually the last movie that Jim Henson was in. Yeah. With the Muppets, I think, as Kermit. As Kermit. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Kermit had a brief part.
He had a very brief part in it, which was nice.
Also, I will say this, in the beginning of the movie, well, probably all throughout, the Muppets look very, like, scraggy.
Yeah.
Like, scruffy and dirty, and I know it's public access television, and maybe...
It's grant-funded Muppets.
Right. Right. But guys, listen, maybe we should donate, because they look bad.
Well, you know how... This is what I was thinking, because this is a TV show. This isn't... The Muppets were made for the movies.
Sure.
But they had the Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they transferred nicely over to the movies.
Okay. You're not making a good point, but go on.
Okay. Well, what I'm saying is, you know, the look of this movie reminded me of back in the day when you would have your sitcoms, and every once in a while there'd be a special episode of the sitcom that was like an hour long, and they went to Europe. Or they went on, you know what I mean? Like when Family Ties goes to Europe.
Okay.
And I think they did. Yeah, they did. And it's shot on film. It's not shot in front of a studio audience. So it looks a little different. Yeah. That's how this whole movie
It definitely looked low budget. And it would look like a lot of times they were like, look, there's an empty field. Get the bird. Get the Snuffleupagus. And let's do a scene here.
Well, I feel like I was really looking for Easter eggs in this movie. And there aren't any. And the thing I thought was, it's just because they don't care. Like nobody was... The only way Easter eggs happen in movies is because somebody cares.
Well, also, I will say this. Like, the Muppet Show was not created for children necessarily.
No.
It had an audience. The Muppets have always had an audience that was adults.
Yeah.
And so even when they transition to movies, there's jokes that are for adults, written for adults.
Yeah.
Sesame Street was not for adults.
No, it was never for adults.
And adults weren't paying attention to it for there to be Easter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For them to like hide things in there or anything like that. No one's going to be like, oh, look, it's Bob.
Right. I mean, I'm happy to see
Bob.
Bob.
Yeah, I know, Bob. What's up?
What's up, Bob? Happy to see you.
Yeah. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again, Bob. We missed you. Yeah, I think that's a really great point.
Thank you.
Kim, that was really good.
Thanks. Guess what?
What?
It's 10:49 at night.
You're making good points. It's late at night.
Maybe this is my strongest hour.
Did you pass through?
I think so.
I think you passed through a valley.
On the other side.
And you're a genius.
Holy shit.
Let's go write a novel. I think that makes a lot of sense because even a lot of the Pixar movies today, there's the thing that makes them so great is that they do appeal to adults as well.
Yeah, and with Pixar movies and things like that, those were movies that were created in a time where they were understanding that parents were watching shows with their kids because they wanted to know what they gave a shit about what their kids were watching.
Right.
Sesame Street, your parents would just like sit down and watch this.
Right.
We'll be in the other room.
It was an electronic babysitter.
Yeah.
That you knew it was okay.
Right.
Kids are going to learn about letters.
Yeah.
Letters
and numbers are going to be fine.
Can I tell you, during the pandemic, my youngest child was 4 years old. He started the pandemic at 4 years old. So he was just learning how to read. You know, in kindergarten now you learn how to read. He started kindergarten during the pandemic. And, you know, they were home. They didn't go back to school for a while. So part of Wynn's curriculum was watching episodes of Sesame Street. Yeah. Like that was part of a thing that he had to do. I would just turn on a Sesame Street and make him watch it.
Us, so it's fine.
I know. That's what I thought. I'm like, she'll get some letters in or something.
Do you remember that pinball thing?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
The other side is here.
This is the best Kim Tweed. This is amazing. Second wind. Let's get it. Yeah, let's talk about, there was a lot of Muppets in this, or the Sesame Street players. I don't know what they are.
Emily's going backwards.
I am.
Sesame Street players.
Bring me forward. There were some that I realized I do not miss. Telly.
Oh, yeah. Is he not on it anymore?
I think
you were like, I'm glad he's not on anymore. Like, you watch it all the time.
I mean, I watch it with Wynn, and I don't feel like Telly was featured. I feel like he was highly featured at the time, and he was a worrier. So, you know.
He was anxious.
I guess they were channeling us.
Right.
So I wrote down some of the ones I didn't care for. Telly, gross.
Heard it.
Barkley, the dog.
Barkley?
I didn't like how I was too aware it was a human in a dog suit.
They're all humans.
I know, and I don't like when you can know.
Recently where like they show like the Muppets like walking across the bridge, and like basically the other Muppeteers are like dragging the guy, so it looks like the Muppets movie.
Oh my gosh, I love that. See, I like that. I recognize that they are. I just don't like a man in a full. It's like a furry, like a man in like a full body dog suit jumping all around with his butt up in the air. Okay, could be a lady. I don't know. I don't know what's in there. I don't know what Barkley is.
I don't want to find out.
I don't want to find out. Also, Super Grover.
Yeah, what's your deal with why are you anti Grover?
I don't like
Just
Grover.
Super Grover?
No, all Grover.
Really?
I don't like Grover.
Like Grover.
He's pushy.
Read the monster at the end of the book?
I did. He's too pushy. I don't like him. I don't like his vibe.
He's a little brash, but
he is brash.
Fine. Who's your favorite then Sesame Street player?
Of the Sesame Street players?
Yes.
Well, I'm a big Ernie fan.
I like Bert and Ernie a lot.
I like Bert and Ernie a lot. I like Oscar.
You do?
I do.
You're dirt.
How dare you? In my home. I made you dinner tonight.
You did.
How dare you?
Nice. And you bought me ice cream.
Who's your favorite Muppet? Oh, you just said. You like Ernie, Bert and Ernie. Who else do you like?
Yeah. Who else do I like? I like Snuffleupagus.
Oh, yeah.
Like
who do you not like?
I don't like Oscar.
I don't like Big Bird, and this whole movie was Big Bird.
Yeah, he came to my party, so I have to like him.
You have to be friends with this.
Yeah, there wasn't much of like the only thing that we were watching, like despite the fact that there were side stories to follow or like side people to follow, they didn't really have stories. It was like Cookie Monster was eating the car.
Right.
And the Count was just riding alone for some reason, I guess because he's too... I like the Count.
I like the Count too.
But his friends think he's annoying.
Well, who wants to hang out with that? I know. I mean, imagine if you had a friend who was just counting things. Did you ever see there? Oh, I'm going to butcher it. It was a show by that guy Nathan. Nathan For You. I forget. Okay. He had this other show where he would make these like fake scenarios where he was an actor in the scenarios. And in one of them, he had this guy, and I'm butchering what the show is about, but it was actually very interesting. But the thing that I remember about the guy, he was obsessed with numbers. So it would be, he would see, 1111 on as the time, and he'd be like, well, that's a luck. And anytime he saw this thing, he'd be like, well, it's going to be good because of this number and this number. And he was so about numbers. And there's someone on my Facebook right now who keeps doing that.
Is that a real, it was a real person?
It was a real person.
Yeah, so that's a thing. They call them like angel numbers. or lucky number, or they're called lucky numbers. Emily.
What? I have a lucky number.
I know you do. There's like
You're dissing my lucky number.
there's angel numbers, or like when numbers repeat, or things like that, and there's supposed to be signs.
Signs that
angels.
Signs that number. There's only so many numbers, Kim.
I'm just telling you what they are.
There's literally 9 different numbers.
I'm telling you what they are. First of all,
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Zero's not a number.
Oh yeah, there's 10.
Okay. You should go to bed.
I also another fun part of this movie is the Grouch restaurant.
Yeah.
Which I do like the Grouch restaurant.
Don't drop in.
Although, here's my question about the Grouch restaurant.
Uh-huh.
Who are those human patrons that are there?
Why would they go?
I know it's disgusting. Like they're basically being fed trash.
Yeah, like it's like what falls together in the garbage.
Yeah.
Ham and donuts or something like that.
I loved that part of it when she was saying all the specials. And it was like candied oysters and spaghetti with syrup on it.
And like meatloaf with something.
Yeah. Meatloaf with something.
Yeah.
No, it was, I enjoyed that part of it. There was also a really weird part in this movie where, at one point, Big Bird does get captured by the Sleaze brothers.
Yes.
They put him in a cage. This part's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Because he sees them and they kind of trick him into getting...
thinking they're safe people.
Right, but they're tricky people.
Right.
And they put him in a cage.
Yeah.
And that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
And he just goes like, okay, he gets in the thing. And then he's stuck and he's like, wait, I can't, you're not going to let me out. And they're just ignoring him while he's asking to leave. And it's suddenly dawning on Big Bird that he's actually trapped with these bad people.
Yeah, that's terrible. I think it's also, like pretty terrible. Like he doesn't want to be with these people. He wants to go home. And this woman is like obsessively following him around, and not like for his personal well-being or safety.
Yeah, she's obsessed.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's crazy.
And she has a bad haircut. A bad bird haircut.
She's a bad bird haircut. She's just awful. But like I said before, her whole thing is you have to be with your own kind. Yeah. She says it a million fucking times.
Right. And at the end, they have to like go to the point that he's okay. Listen, lady, he's all right. He is with lots of different kinds of people, and that's okay.
Right. So then is the story about diversity?
Yes.
And how diversity is good?
Yes.
I mean, I think Sesame Street, that is one of the great things about just the show Sesame Street in general. It's very diverse.
The thing about this movie is the diversity that is in the cast of, adults and children and puppets and Muppets.
And Muppet players. Sesame Street players.
That's right.
All together as one. But you know where there isn't diversity?
Where?
In that one little weird town where Big Bird they paint him blue because then he becomes the bluebird. Yeah. He's supposed to be the bluebird of happiness when he's in like the sideshow.
You mean Twin Town?
Twin Town. For some inexplicable, they don't say anything about it.
There's no discussion of it, no nod to it, nothing. It's just like they pan across this crowd and there's like a couple regular people, and then all of a sudden in front row, like 6 sets of twins.
And they're all dressed the same. There's this one set of little girls and they're dressed in like business suits.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah. It's weird, but like you said, there's no nod to it. There's no payoff.
No, it's just like, hey, look, we found some twins.
Isn't this funny? Isn't this freaky, guys? Bunch of twins. We got a bunch.
Have you ever been friends with a twin?
Not super close friends, but
I always think it's weird in like adult life when you I work with 2 people right now who are have twin.
I have to find out who
siblings.
They are later.
And I always think it's weird. It's like, how do you exist without this other person?
Oh, actually, I know someone who is a twin, but fraternal. Do you know anyone who's an identical twin?
I mean, I used to.
I used to too.
But I haven't. I've never been like close friends with a twin.
I'm sorry, I'm not a twin. What would you do if I was a twin? There was 2 of me. Would you just be best friends with me, or would you be best friends with both?
I think you would be best friends with them, and that's why you wouldn't.
And I wouldn't be best friends with you.
That's right.
Oh.
Yeah, so sad. And as Big Bird
Did you kill my twin? Did I have a twin? And you were like, no.
They were evil.
Thank you then.
Don't worry. And you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I also think it's funny that when he's sad, so they paint him blue and then he's singing sad songs. I don't find blue to be a sad color.
He looks sad, though, as a bluebird.
He looked sad.
They couldn't have this, like, cheery yellow bird singing a sad song.
Yeah, they could.
No.
It'd be the same.
It wouldn't.
They couldn't they just put a blue light on him? They have to
Yellow's
paint him
too
blue?
happy.
I guess if they put a blue light on him, he would turn green.
Perhaps, yeah. And that's just a weird bird, not a sad bird.
That's a weird bird.
Yes.
So overall, what are your thoughts? Good movie, bad movie? Should anyone ever watch
show
it?
to a child.
No.
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 Because I don't think, I mean, duh on the diversity part.
Mm-hmm.
And also, maybe we needed that in the 80s.
I think we probably did.
Sadly. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people were like, oh.
Be with your own kind.
Right. And Sesame Street was like, guys, we got to do something about this.
We got all these Miss Finches around here.
Right.
We got to do something.
Let's make a movie.
And let's make it about Big Bird. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. But it was a movie. We watched it when we were young. We watched it now as adults. Mm-hmm. And we'll never watch it again.
Yeah, no.
It's done.
Don't show your kids.
Follow That Bird. Dead to us.
Done.
Check. Do you want to find out how this movie connects to our friend, Mr. Christian Slater?
Yes, I very obviously do. What were you just saying, Emma?
Nothing. So, Christian Slater.
Yeah. He's not in this movie.
He's not in this movie.
He's Barkley. Oh. Do you think it's two people in that Barkley suit?
There can only be room for one.
So they're like hands and legs in it? Jumping around?
Yeah, it's just a human with his hands on the ground and his butt up in the air. Okay. Anyway, Christian Slater. We're going to start with...
Big Bird.
No, I couldn't go with any of those people. I had to go with one of the cameos, obviously.
Sure.
And I went with John Candy. Okay. John Candy was in the movie Splash.
Yes.
He was. With Tom Hanks.
Thanks.
T. Hanks. Tom Hanks was in a movie called That Thing You Do.
God, I love that movie.
I know you do. And you're going to love this person.
Okay.
Steve Zahn.
Yeah.
Steve Zahn was in a movie called Mind Games with Christian Slater. I don't know that movie either.
Oh
Could be great. Steve Zahn.
Christian Slater. What could go wrong?
Nothing could go wrong. Everything could go great is what it is. So that's it. Christian Slater is connected to Follow That Bird. Who would have guessed it? Not me. Not at all.
Not me.
And we made it through this movie.
It's after 11 p.m., guys. It's after 11 p.m. When was the last time you were up past 11 o'clock?
Earlier this week. This week has not been good for me in sleep.
Oh, God.
I know. It's bad.
Sorry.
I know. Thank you guys for listening today. We thank you for continuing to listen to our show and watching us just get better and better. You can, of course, listen to all those old episodes.
Yeah, visit our website, confidentlycontroversial.com, and you just click on it, and it takes you right to play the episode. It's amazing, the technology we have these days.
But if you want to listen to us on a different platform than Apple Podcasts, you can find us on Spotify, Winamp, all the other things.
What is it called?
Winamp?
Oh, okay, sure. I'm cool. I'm hip. I know what that is.
I don't know what it is, but I see we get a lot of listeners from it. So, okay, I'm glad you guys tell us what it is. I don't know what
Someone's
it is.
at home being like, it's called vinyl.
Probably. It's all those people from Norway listening who are like, it's the Winamp,
Sure.
I can't do a Norwegian accent or else I wouldn't do it. It's fine. I'm moving on.
We're on Instagram at Confidently Controversial.
We're on YouTube at Confidently Controversial. We are on TikTok at Confidently Contro.
Correct.
And
send us an email. But if you send us an email, you should listen to more than one episode and not be so grouchy and judgy of us, because
we're very sensitive.
Very. And I'm going to think about this for a long time. So you hurt my feelings.
Yeah, but then that person wrote a follow-up that was actually kind of nice.
Okay. Not forgiven.
I forgive you. I'm easy like that.
Yeah, you are.
It's fine. But Kim.
Easy.
Sleazy. So guys, listen. What I'm trying to tell you is that if you come across a giant bird, just running around.
First of all,
follow that bird. Second of all, confidently approach that bird.
Yes.
But don't trap the bird in a cage on the back of your flatbed truck.
No, ask it how old it is, first of all.
Right.
And determine if you want to be charged with kidnapping.
And see if if it is a young bird, take it home.
Right. Take it to Sesame Street.
Yeah, do that. All right. Follow that bird, Kim.
Okay.
All right. We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And we will be here next week on your favorite podcast, Confidently Controversial.
Confidently
Good night.
controversial.